towards the south. The deputy president of the Republic of Kenya remains defiant, mocks his boss. We are looking at it. There is no mediation. Nobody in African Union can see the danger. We have Boko Haram killing people, maiming people, destroying property of people in the Sahara region. We have the people of Biafra demanding independence. They want a referendum. Millions have fled Nigeria, yet Nigeria has plenty to give to them. But there is nothing they can get. They have ended up in foreign countries as refugees. Millions and millions of Cameroonians have left Cameroon because of the question of Amazonia on Resolution 1608 of the United Nations Security Council, General Assembly in 1961 that gave Amazonia the right to exist as an independent state. Today we see everywhere opposition parties yearning for freedom. Some of them have never got that freedom. We see botched elections. We see elections gerrymandered. We see elections falling below standards of the African Union. But the African Union goes around and says elections were free, transparent, and fair. I will get from the opinion of the panel whether there is need of free and fair observers who walk around. I believe all of you who tell us the same wording, as if the African Union has the same wording, Dr. Nachama and others. Free and fair and conducted in a manner that was transparent. That is African Union mission. As we speak today, there is trouble. Trouble has come in the African Union. Over 34 countries, I think they are going to 36 countries, have rejected the inclusion of Israel as an observer state in the African Union. The entire SADC, which has got almost 17 countries, has said they were not consulted. The entire Arab-leaning countries that fall both in the Arab League and in the Arab of Africa, they have said we are not consulted. So we have about 15 to 14 countries left. Is this not going to fall to divide the African Union? Will the African Union not collapse? Why has the African Union been captured? Who captured the African Union? My panel will tell you frankly and candidly, like the way I do it, that there is a state in Europe that has always divided Africa. And that state is France. The French always, every conflict in Africa, there is a French-speaking soldier And can I repeat like His Excellency Hekilema HH today repeated security as very important. For every conflict in Africa, there is a French soldier or mercenary behind it. This is not a lie. You can cross-check. If you can ask why Kagame is in Mozambique, and yet Tanzania has not sent its troops to Mozambique, Dr. Nyakama will tell you that there is some conspiracy of a proxy war. An East African state sends troops because the French have said, you go. Why is it that Tanzania cannot send in troops? Tanzania has got a very well battle-hardened army that could have crushed those terrorists within a short time. Total Oil owns the resources along the coast. The drug menace of the islands of Palma in the Mozambican Channel. The drugs as a conduit of drugs from Taliban flowing from Afghanistan is what has brought a problem. Are we ready as Africans? Thank you very much. Are you together as Africans? Do you see the mess we are going to go in? The African Union is collapsing. My panel this evening, I'll start from the left. A man from Meru. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Dr. David Matsanga from the Mombasa Political Command Center, and also to Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, my co-panelist, and also to my friend Orisana Talwish, and my friend Jevan Karanja from Nanyuki. Thank you, Doctor, for having me on the show.
Thank you very much for taking time to from your busy campaign schedule to come and join us. We wish you luck, and we think we shall all give you time and access sometime in weeks to come before October to make sure that you win the seat on the ticket of the party that you have chosen. I will personally support you as one of my young trainees that you win that seat and become an MCA. Thank you very much, my student. Thank you very much. Across on the right-hand side is none other than the Don himself, Dr. Joseph Nyachama. Dr. Nyachama, I don't know whether to call him, he did anthropology or education. He will tell you, Dr. Joseph Nyachama, are we safe? Is African Union collapsing? Greet the people, test the microphone.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Matsanga. Absolutely. This is Pan-African TV. We always say when you listen here, you will get the tip from the top, the drip from the drop, and you will become the cream of the crop, especially on African affairs. Thank you, Douglas Grimi, Tawish, and Jevon Karanji. It's my pleasure to have this discussion this evening. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much, Dr. The Don himself, Joseph Nyachama. The man can tell you what George Washington said. The man can tell you what Martin Luther said. This is the guy, Shakespeare. Welcome to the show, Dr. Nyachama. Down in Narok, across the country of Kenya, there is a man, none other than my investigative editor, special programs editor, none other than Tawish Samuel Olisisana. Good evening, Tawish. How are the animals operating in the place where you are?
Good evening to you, Dr. David Matsanga, Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, my comrade, Douglas Bonde Keremi, of course, and Javan Karanja, and everyone who is watching.
We don't want to lose. Yes, we don't want to lose you. I hope the animals are not taking you, my brother.
I'm okay.
Yes.
I'm okay, Dr. Matsanga. I'm okay, Dr. Matsanga. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be on this program tonight.
You are in Mara, around there. This is the time of migration from Tanzania. The animals have come to Kenya to get the wombs. We call them wombs or pregnancy before they arrive to go back to Tanzania. Why is it that they deplete Kenya's wealth and they go and deliver in Tanzania? That's one thing that Tawish you should tell us as a Maasai from that area. Why is it that these animals come and the animals in Kenya do the necessary for them to go and deliver the children down in Tanzania? What's the problem here? But you tell us next time. Thank you very much for joining the show. Across in Nanyuki, the plains of Kenya, where you find Javan Karanja, another student of mine, learning how to do politics and speak candidly. I've been following his Facebook of late. He seemed to have improved to be able to send missiles that shake Ruto every minute. Thank you very much, Javan Karanja. Good evening in Nanyuki, the city that houses British Army, the city that has got farms. I hope one of these days you'll allow me to buy one farm there. Good evening, Karanja.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. David Matsanga, and my fellow panelists, Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, Douglas Budi Kiremi, and Tawish Olesasina. It's always a pleasure being on Punchline Africa TV. And Doctor, you're welcome to buy land here in this area. It's a very good area. It's a tourist destination. Therefore, you'll have some ample time to go around, enjoying the wildlife and some beautiful sanctuaries that we have in this region. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And if we stabilize this country, because it looks like Mr. Ruto is bent, hell bent, to make sure that the Kenyans get scared. Thank you very much. That's another subject for the other day. Let's come back to the African Union. Can Kirimi open it up for us? Let's start, and then Doctor, you open. You come in. Let's Kirimi. Tell us, what do you think?
Thank you, Doctor, for having me on the show. I believe that African Union is a corrupt entity. I believe contributions to the African Union do not matter anymore, because the cause of African people is never adhered to, is never followed up to, and also the people of Africa continue suffering under this institution. They continue suffering under a body that was supposed to be pushing for their own interest, a body that was mandated to be able to push for the agenda of the African people, a body that we contribute so much, and in terms of millions of dollars, so that we can be able to sustainably keep this African Union entity going. Dr. David Matsanga, there are very key issues that you have raised, and I also believe I have something more to add to the same. I believe that the African Union does not serve the purpose and the core grounds that it was formed for. Number one, we continue falling and they continue being ruled by the colonial, the neo-colonialism and evil hand of our Western resource greedy allies, who continue their misrule in Africa by defranchising the people of Africa, our own economy, taking our resources. Dr. David Matsanga, I have alluded before that these people even continue taking breakfast with the sweet potatoes farmed here in Kenya, when we cannot enjoy the same luxury as the people of Kenya. The best sweet potatoes are sorted out and sent to Western countries, where these Western resource greedy allies continue benefiting from even our own sweet potatoes. Even the best events from the world, the trees are cut from Africa, smuggled into the Western countries, and these people continue defranchising the people of Africa. The same African Union continues receiving funding from people like China, from people like the European Union, and the people from the United States of America to continue the franchising and also killing the people of Africa and killing the common ambitions of the people of Africa. Dr. David Matsanga, Africa today continues enjoying mutual relations with other African countries, but internally they continue breeding. Chad is breeding today. The Republic of Congo is breeding today under a dictator. The Democratic Republic of Congo under Tshisekedi Chilombo continues breeding internally. The people of Somalia continue breeding internally, whereas they enjoy not so cordial relationship with Nairobi and other neighboring countries. Mogadishu is breeding today. Dr. David Matsanga, the headquarters of African Union, which is the AU headquarters, which is based in Ethiopia. Dr. David Matsanga, Ethiopia is corrupting. The Prime Minister is not known. His plan is not known on how to salvage the situation in the African Union headquarters at Addis Ababa. The forces from Tigray and the Oromo Defense Forces continue marching forward and taking that country. Dr. David Matsanga, I have no kind words for our Western greater resource allies who continue taking advantage of the people of Africa and continue lying to us as a people and as a continent that the African Union is serving our own interest. If we really truly believe the African Union is serving the interest of the people of Africa, Dr. David Matsanga, I'm asking a very valid question. Why is Ethiopia collapsing under the eyes of the AU, which is the headquarters, whose headquarters are based in Ethiopia? Tigray is burning. Eritrea and Somalia and other countries have come together so they can be able to destroy the people of Tigray. But the resilience spirit of the Tigray people has been able to overrun the national army of Ethiopia. And also they continue marching towards Addis Ababa. Dr. David Matsanga, these are very valid concerns. Mozambique, Shell and Total Africa, Total Oil continue funding people who continue destabilizing that country. And these issues are going to knock home. They're coming to Nairobi and they're coming to other countries in Africa and they're coming to other capitals in Africa. If we are not careful, Dr. David Matsanga, Africa as we know it cannot be able to exist beyond 10 to 20 years. Dr. David Matsanga, what is happening today at the headquarters of African Union in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia is despicable, and we cannot be able to continue taking it as it is today. Dr. David Matsanga, why is the headquarters of African Union burning and the people are quiet? The UN is quiet. The African Union itself, where Mamad Faki continues sitting under the EU Commission in Addis Ababa, they continue shutting their mouth. They cannot issue statements on the issue of Ethiopia. Dr. David Matsanga, my heart is saddened today. Countries are breeding internally. Countries like South Sudan are breeding internally. Countries like DRC breeding internally. Countries like Nigeria is corrupting under the very eyes of African Union and ECOWAS and other regional blocs. Dr. David Matsanga, a time has come for the people of Africa to rise up and defend their own continent as we know it, before it is taken down as we know it, because the same people who have been defranchising these people, the same people who have been able to fund the African Union, have been able to advance the agenda without advancing the agenda of the African people. Dr. David Matsanga, as I conclude on my point, the people of Africa need to take the precedence from other countries. They need to declare a new revitalized African Union, which Dr. David Matsanga, a new revitalized African Union that serves the interests of African people for and behalf of the welfare of the African people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much, my brother. You brought up key points. Look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia is one of the countries housing African Union headquarters. It has fallen apart. Rebels have torn it to several rebel places. Thank you for bringing up that topic. I want to hear more, then I will come back to summarize. Dr. Joseph Nyachama, the younger man has opened up various fronts that have created chaos and bloodshed. While AU is watching, the headquarters of AU are in Addis Ababa. But AU has not done any effort to tell the Ethiopian government to stop and sit down on table to discuss the question of Tigray. Oromo Liberation Front has started from the south, marching towards Addis Ababa. The Amran of the west have started marching towards Addis Ababa. The Tigrayan people have liberated their city Bekele, and they are stuck there. They are not moving. They are moving towards Addis Ababa. What will happen to the African Union? Dr. Nyachama.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Matsanga and my fellow panelists. Dr. Matsanga, before we came to AU, what was the organization? Its name before? Organization of African Unity.
Yes.
Unity, not union. The key word was descriptive, unity. It was changed to a union. You know what a union? Even those who have learned English, it is anchored on nothing. Look at the former word, unity. They were focusing on unity. They formed into a union, and they are not delivering anything. In fact, if you look at the constitutive power of 2000, it clearly states that whenever the organization, the union sees a risky situation in any country, they could intervene. Look at all over. Did they intervene in Chad? Have they intervened in Nigeria? Have they intervened in Ethiopia? No. The continent is disintegrating because the union has no clue. They have lost leadership, Dr. Matsanga. And that is why, personally, through you, Dr. Matsanga, as a Pan-Africanist, we need to whip all the people, including the youth, not to sit down when their continent is being, and not to follow people blindly. Usually I say that do not run after someone who's running. You may be surprised that he's suffering from a running stomach, and where he ends, that's where you will end. This is what is happening. Dr. Matsanga, we need to redefine, and in fact, even change the name from the union, we go back to unity, so that there is a mark we're running to, unity. The word unity, Dr. Matsanga, was very key. I'm very disturbed who changed it to union. Union is very shaky. You know, when you see the word unity, you know that anything you do in Africa as a state, with your fellow African states, it is towards unity. You unite for a bigger cause to transform Africa for the sake of the young people. And I want to appeal, especially to the young people in Africa. They are not too small to transform this continent. Dr. Matsanga, you know, one of the young men who lived those times, Martin Luther Jr., you know what he said? Please, Dr. Matsanga, allow me just to get a bearing from there. He simply said, although I know that there are difficulties for today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. A dream anchored on the American dream, that in the red hills of Georgia, the sons of the slaves and the sons of the slave owners shall sit under one table of brotherhood and craft a way forward for this country. More particularly, I have a dream that my 4 little children will live in a country where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. End of quote, Dr. Matsanga. What are we saying? Dr. Matsanga, through this particular forum of African, Pan-Africanism, we need to develop a plethora of young dreamers so that they change the narrative for Africa, because this future belongs to them. Look at different states, even in my country. They are agents of divisible forces who are leaders, but they are putting countries at risk. If any country has risk attributes, definitely you cannot expect it to have a united Africa. I expected AU to have units within the organization which continually assess the risk situations in different nations across Africa so that they take desperate measures to avert a security disaster. Why do you need to wait until a problem occurs in Nigeria? Children are killed, women are killed, then you go, you know, you are firefighting. We need proactive leaders to work in an organization like AU so that they assess the risks of occurrence of security situations. That is, you prevent for the sake of the children and women and the youth. But do they do that? Absolutely not. Dr. Matsanga, I even don't know what they do in office, day in, day out. Maybe you are more conversant. You would tell us. You would tell us, Dr. Matsanga, this is a serious matter, and I hope all heads of state are listening. You have already alluded to us that the 6 of them have not agreed with accepting maybe Israel to enter. Because
36.
Maybe they realize that some people have interest. They didn't involve them. What interest did they have? Dr. Matsanga, for me, the way forward, Dr. Matsanga, if we want to bring back unity in Africa, is to go nation by nation, so that if the union sits in Addis Ababa, it takes Kenya, for example, analyzes factors, what is going on in Kenya, for example, and move quickly to avert any possible crisis from crystallizing. And they do it nation to nation. We need workable strategies to stabilize Africa, not just to serve in a union for personal interest. We need to rise up. And the youth listening, wherever you are in this continent, please, you are not too young to transform Africa. In fact, if you think you are so young, then you have never been in bed with a mosquito. Wake up and don't follow leaders blindly. If you do, you are contributing to the desperation of Africa. Stand strong and don't be used to fight wars which you don't understand. Dr. Matsanga, I think we need, I don't know how you would organize, especially the young people, so that they are groomed to see the continent in a bigger picture, that this future belongs to them. And that is why there is an Indian proverb that says that we have not inherited this nation from our ancestors, we have borrowed from our children. We have not inherited this continent from our ancestors, we have borrowed from our children, and we must return it back with interest. Which interest are we returning back with when we are destroying everything, selling all the resources in Africa? All the resources are going to the West. They are being in the change of personal interest. We need resourcefulness back in Africa among our old and the youth. Dr. Matsanga, for now, I submit.
We need to return the continent to our children. We borrowed it from the ancestors. I think, let me simplify. Is that what exactly you are saying? I hope so, Prof.
Yeah,
That we
never inherited it.
We borrowed.
We borrowed from our children.
Children, yes.
We must pay back with interest.
Yes.
Yes.
Jabani Karanja, thank you very much, Dr. Nyachama. I don't know whether we have interest left. If a country like Libya that was going to give us interest was broken to pieces, And what is happening in the Tripoli is a resultant of a bad African Union. A union that came, allowed the two rebel groups, one in Tripoli, one in Benghazi. What is all this? What is all this? Where is the African Peace Security Council? Where is it? We can't have a country divided by rebels whom you know. Some of them left Libya and went to kill the president Idris of Chad. They pumped him bullets. He died. And the rebels were well known, and they went on international TV, said, we have killed him. They took responsibility. Is this the African Union we want? Javan Karanja.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. David Matsanga and Dr. Nyanchama and Douglas for the amazing and very incredible submission that they have made. I agree with them fully that the African Union is not living to its mandate, as it has outlived its mandate. Is an organization that need to be restructured, that need to be streamlined, that need some reshuffle, some revival, some rejuvenation, so that we can align the organization with the current challenges, so that we can have an organization that is alert to what's happening and what is ailing the African continent. Because we have seen a lot of happenings across Africa, a lot of events happening across Africa that shows clearly that African Union is not up to task. We have seen Ethiopia going down. We have seen the issue, the security insurgency that we have in Nigeria, but we don't see the Peace and the Security Council under the African Union trying to mitigate, trying to bring solutions to the problems that is ailing Africa, to the problem that is causing the insecurities that we have across Africa countries, especially in West Africa. When you go to Mozambique, we still have escalating cases of insecurity, escalating cases of locals fighting with investors for natural resources. Therefore, we need to have a body that needs to be checked in. It needs some diagnosis so that we can really know what is ailing, what is killing our African Union, so that we can be able to diagnose and understand and do a very clean and a very candid investigations and research and understand what is it that is causing the African Union not to deliver on its mandate, not to meet the aims and objectives that the African Union founders had when they were forming this organization. Maybe from that point, we can be able to know how to cure the problem that we have in African Union. And now we can start now bringing on board and pampering in resources and the intellectuality and the leaders and the capacity, human resource capacity building, so that we can be able to have a revived African Union that will be able to offer solutions that remove from being a rhetoric body to an action-oriented body. Therefore, there's a lot need to be done. And from my own understanding and from what I'm seeing, African Union, if we continues with the same trend, then we might not be speaking of it anymore, because these are dead giant, and it's not even up to task. We need to rethink and restructure this organization. It needs to come and ensure that, and we have seen cases where elections in Africa are causing a lot of headache. They are causing a lot of acrimony, havoc, fights, and the body is still silent, to a point where we are seeing international bodies more concerned with what is happening in Africa than the African Union itself. Therefore, these are a giant, these are a body that is sleeping on its mandate. It needs some thorough cleaning so that we can change and restructure it. And that will happen if we start from the root cause of all this. And it said that a fish starts to rot from the head. Therefore, we need to go and start structuring the leadership, bring new minds, bring new leadership, and ensure that the leaders that we bring on board, they have the best brains, they are men and women of integrity, they hold the best moral, societal morality, people who bring a change in this organization, so that we, as we move forward, we'll have a body that will be able to offer solutions, and not a body that will be there as a spectator. We need a body that will be there offering solutions to the problems that is facing the African continent. On that point, I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We have a viewer watching us from Addis Ababa. One of the diplomats, I will not say his name, and he has said, Chief, thank you for bringing this topic. We have the AU Commission comprised of heads of state with instruments of power to deal with African Union mess. The panel of the wise and other mechanisms are plenty. Like the Peace and Security Council headed by Kenya, AMISOM Extra. What is their power and authority? This person is at one of the diplomats. He said, don't mention my name. Then he's watching us. Then he said, then you have the AU Commission or Secretariat headed by French people only, Frenchman called Musa Mahamat Faki. You see? There is looting in there. This is a senior diplomat in Addis Ababa. There is looting in there. The rest are just looting. Nothing can be achieved by the AU. The AU Civil Service, this is AUC Commission, and its doctrine are dead. They are traitors at the best, shallow on vision of Africa. And he said he's a diplomat. I know him for a long time. It is sorry state. So if you have such reports coming from inside Addis Ababa, then what are we left with? A share of thieves. Some time back, President Uhuru Kenyatta gave $1 million in a check. I was there in the African Union to form the African Court of Human Rights and Justice, or Justice and Human Rights. If you look for this money today, you cannot find $1. There is no accountability. Kenya paid cash $1 million, that instead of us running to the ICC and our people being taken to the ICC every day, let's have a court built on the African continent. This money has been eaten. The problem now, the crux of the matter is this. Right now, what is in AU is 36 countries are opposed to the interests of Israel as an observer state in the AU. The reasons, not because they hate Israel, the reason is that the man, Mr. Muhammad Faki, worked and picked money and took the money, and that's it. And they admitted Israel without consulting the heads of state. So this is a risk, and let's not hide. You know, one of the problems that kills us Africans in Kenya here, when you see something, you hide and go under the carpet until Ruto becomes very funny. We could have arrested this situation a long time ago. But you see the situation now is growing into unmanageable proportions. If you look at Ruto, what he was saying today, then you talk about election 2022, forget it. That is the spirit. How will you be handed over this sword by the man that you are belittling today? Do you see election? African, Nyachama, you raised a very serious point. We should have a mechanism, a peace monitoring, conflict monitoring trigger mechanisms to know which country is under the hammer of the West of George Soros? Which country is being regime changed? Where is trouble going to come? We don't have. Is it time, therefore, to break the African Union? I give you each 2 minutes each to summarize. I'll start with Douglas Kirimi. Your parting shot.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. The time has come for us as the people of Africa to be able to move forward and recreate the African Union, revitalize the African Union, an African Union that works for the best interest of the people of Africa. African countries continue, Dr. David Matsanga, to breed internally, but we continue contributing millions of dollars to the African Union, including when our leaders are being sent to the International Criminal Court, the ICC. The African people who are charged with the mandate of setting up the African Court, where President Uhuru Kenyatta contributed over $100 million. These people ate the money, and like you have said, Dr. Matsanga, and there's nothing that they can be able to show off. But at the end of the day, Dr. David Matsanga, we need to come together as the people of Africa, be able to come together and make sure that we have an African Union for and the benefit and the welfare of the African people. If that African Union continues serving the interest of Muhammad Faki alone and his Western resource-greedy allies, Dr. David Matsanga, I believe the African Union is dead. We need a revitalized. If it's not a revitalized, it's a new African Union where we do not receive funding from China. Remember when China gave us the funding for the new African Union building in Addis Ababa? These people had to put microchips even where African leaders were sitting to put microchips in bathrooms so that they can be able to tap everything. The first server was set up in Beijing so that everything that happens in African Union, Dr. David Matsanga, is recorded first in China before the people of Africa know what is discussed in the halls and the rooms and the corridors of the new African Union renovated building. Dr. David Matsanga, a time has come for the African leaders to be strong and courageous and brave, like Dr. Uhuru Kenyatta of the Republic of Kenya, a man that committed money to even set up an African court so that we can be able to be tried on African courts, a true Pan-Africanist, a man that has decided that Pan-Africanism takes precedence, Dr. David Matsanga. And my appeal is to the people, the leaders in Africa, including presidents, to continue listening to your advice and to stop ignoring these signs of the of Pan-Africanism that you have always shown them and told them the truth and what is going to happen. Because at the end of the day, Dr. David Matsanga, if African Union collapses as we know it, Dr. David Matsanga, Africa is going to sink as a continent the way we know it. Dr. David Matsanga, as I conclude on my point, I'm saying the people of Africa, it's about time we contributed money to a revitalized African Union or destroy the African Union as we know it, so that we can have an institution for the African people, for the welfare and the good of the African people. The commission, the AU commission that is led by Dr. Muhammad Faki at Addis Ababa, is controlled from France, and it cannot continue serving the interests of the African people. Dr. David Matsanga, thank you for being on the show, and I enjoyed the show, Dr. David Matsanga. Thank you for your contributions too, and may God bless you too, and Punchline Africa TV. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Douglas Kirimi, for your contribution and your candid talk. I hope the leaders have heard, and we shall allow the message. We shall not keep quiet. We shall continue talking and talking until they hear. Just before the doctor ends it all for us.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I would like to retaliate that the African Union can be a very good body that will live to its mandate if we only change few things, and that including the leadership, so that we can have leaders who are up to task, leaders who will take the organization to the destination that we all hope. And that will happen if we start cultivating a culture whereby even at our individual countries, we start bringing good leaders. Because if we happen to have good leaders are very intelligent and intellectual leaders at the African Union and fail to have men and women of integrity at our individual countries, then it will continue creating a lot of problems. Therefore, the issue of leadership need to start from the grassroots all the way to African Union. We need to have good leaders across African countries so that we can at least champion for a good leader at the helm of African Union, because it will be a tragedy and it will be a messy situation having a clean leaders at the helm of AU and failing to have good leaders at our individual countries who will support the cause of African unity, who will support the cause of empowering the Africans and ensuring they have a vibrant economy, an economy that is alert to what is happening globally, an economy that will ensure that people have employment, they have money in their pocket, they are able to invest. And that is the Africa that we want, an Africa where we work to ensure that we raise the literacy level, we ensure a big number of our people go to school, where we'll have a universal health care coverage to all Africans. That is the dream of all Africans. And that if we can be able to guarantee good services and provide provision of the basic facilities, the basic needs that we need as human beings from our individual countries, then we can start having a very vibrant African continent where we can also start even calling for African unity, because at our individual level we'll be unified. That is a dream that I hope will be realized one day if we put our house in order, if we still continue rekindling the spirit of Africa and Africanism, rekindling the spirit of Pan-Africanism and the spirit of patriotism at our individual countries. I submit.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Nyachama, before you come in to take it away for us and we conclude, the same diplomat from Addis Ababa has just written another one. And he said, I encourage you to take up this conversation forward with different tracks on the AU Commission Civil Service, AU Vision and the role of citizenry, taking up AU to the ground, role of the youth and the leadership, which is lacking in the African Union. Thank you very much, those watching across. But before we leave, Dr. Nyachama, briefly take it us away and take it away. This is Matsanga Africa Perspective. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Matsanga, Douglas Gremi, Javan Karanja, for this wonderful discussion. I hope Dr. Matsanga, as African citizens, are listening us tonight. I want to appeal to them. And Dr. Matsanga, if you can allow me to repeat what I said, Africa does not lack resources. Africa lacks resourcefulness. Tonight, Dr. Matsanga, we want to appeal to them. Just appeal, plead to them. And tell them that, as the Bible says, that what does it benefit a man if he acquires the whole world and loses his soul? For me, I want to appeal to the African leaders who have been given responsibility to lead to develop, because the people from other type of the world
Yes. I think we lost a professor there. Thank you very much. Let me bring you to speed. We must have had a connection problem there with the professor. And yes. Viewers, thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa Television, which was broadcasting from Mombasa Political Command Center in the Republic. Yes, I was about to conclude. Just briefly conclude, sir.
Sorry. The thing, what I wanted to say is that, let me say in a few words, Dr. Matsanga, I hope the leaders are listening. It doesn't matter how many assets you have as individual nations or individual persons. All those assets will become valueless if you don't protect the most critical asset. We call it security and stability. That should be the focus for Africa, particularly the African Union. Let's put this continent together for the benefit of us all, particularly our children. By so doing, we shall get a position and our vote will count in the international community. But with our population, our vote doesn't count much because we have misquandered opportunities that prevail because we have been shortchanged for short-term gains. Finally, Dr. Matsanga, I appeal to them to have eyes that see, not eyes that look. Eyes that look are more, those that see are few. Looking is the function of the eyes, seeing is the function of the heart. I plead our Almighty God in heaven to bring eyes to our leaders that see. It's through seeing that we can rejuvenate Africa. Dr. Matsanga, I submit.
Thank you. Thank you very much, viewers, wherever you are across the world. Thank you. Here we come to the end of our show, Matsanga Africa Perspective. God said, whether one or two, as long as you have the same message, it will go far. We have talked about Africa. What brings us together tonight is Africa. Africa is our continent. We don't have any other homes. We might be in Britain, we might be in America, we might be in New Zealand, we might be in Australia. But every time during Christmas, Easter, you find people packed at the airports going to Africa. Africa is an endowed continent with lots of resources. The only continent with black people, real black, original black people. God made it a special continent that he chose us to be black. Why did God do that? We haven't done it. We haven't gone inside deep to discuss it as theology would do. But here we are, we find ourselves all the time crying for handouts. Are we ready to stand on our own, be like a Chinese? 40 years ago, they had one rice scheme in my country, Uganda, in a place called Kibimba. Now we were feeding them. We were sharing the tonnage of the rice they grow from there. But now they feed us, they have taken over our markets, our roads, our shops are full of Chinese manufactured goods. This was not the China 40 years ago. Can Africa rise up and shine again? Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you very much, the panel. This station is for Africa, by Africa, with Africa. Thank you.